President, we're in Atlanta, Georgia,
Yes.
home of Martin Luther King,
Right.
the civil rights movement. And one of the things he said about civil rights is that must have economic rights,
Right.
opportunities. And it's unprecedented with your opportunity zones. You created 500,000 new jobs, 1 million people lifted out of poverty. And while they said it would take 10 years to get $100 billion in these communities, in less than 2 years, you have $75 billion of private equity going to low-income neighborhoods. That is what Martin Luther King dreamed about decades ago in this city and around the country. You are part of that movement, empowering minorities, especially blacks. Success equals equality. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, I really appreciate that question or statement even because big fan of Martin Luther King, as you know, because we've known each other a long time.
Yes.
You've come a long way, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Mr.
But I have to say that the opportunity zones, Tim Scott, the great senator from South Carolina, came to me with that idea. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a terrific idea. We were able to implement it, and the kind of numbers we've achieved is incredible. And really for the African American community, for Hispanic community, I mean, the numbers have been mind-boggling. Nobody can believe it happened. You know, they've been trying this kind of thing for years, and it's never worked, and this has been working out really well. We've made tremendous progress. We got interrupted by this horrible virus from China. You know, it was a terrible, terrible thing, and is a terrible thing, but we're rounding the corner. We achieved things for the black community that nobody's ever done. Lowest unemployment rate ever in the history of our country. Home ownership, all of these things were the best. We got interrupted, now we're going back again, and you see we're going back in record numbers, so we're very happy about it.
Mr. President, you know, many people talk about rhetoric, but we talk about real progress. And you have honored your commitments to delivering, not just for the black community, but for all communities. When you think about the fact that you have a debate that's coming up in a couple of days, and you talk about Biden's rhetoric when he talks about the black community, why is it that the black community, given your success, which you cannot argue with, before the coronavirus, record unemployment in the black community in the history of this country, what do you attribute the fact that you're able to get things done instead of just rhetoric?
I've always had the ability to get it done. I mean, one of the things that I'm most proud of is criminal justice reform. And I would say probably the biggest beneficiary there is the African American community, the black community. And we got that done. Biden, as you know, did the opposite, the 1994 crime bill, which was a disaster for the black community, a total disaster. There's a little bit of a habit, frankly, where people vote, and whether it's black community or other communities, they tend to vote for a certain group, and they've been voting for 100 years for the Democrats, and it has not worked out well. And we're having a lot of people coming over to the Republican Party and maybe coming over to me. So I'm very honored by it, and we're very honored by the kind of results we seem to be getting.
You know, in preparation for today's interview with you, Mr. President, I decided to go back and look at Republican candidates' rhetoric versus their results. And I don't know any president in recent memory that has just gone full throttle, all out for this vote, no matter what the percentage may be. And it goes to a deeper issue that we really hear you talk about, is the fact that you actually care and you can relate. Where does that come from?
Well, it comes from people like Herschel Walker and so many others where they're really friends of mine, great friends of mine for a long time. They're special people, and I see this, and I you know, it's been happening with me I have so many great friends that happen to be black, and I think it just probably goes into my policy. I think it's an automatic thing. It's not a conscious, or it's almost a subconscious. I want to help the black community. I think it's time that they were helped. They've been used. Frankly, they've been used by the Democrats. The Democrats have done very little for them over the years. The only time they're good is 6 months before an election. After the election, the day later, right after the election, they're gone. And then they come back in another 3.5 years. You know, that's what's been happening, and that's been going on for 100 years. That's been going on for a long time. And I'm president. I have a chance to help people that I like and respect, and that's what I'm doing, and I'm very proud of it.
Why is it, and you know this firsthand, why is creating wealth, creating businesses, owning your own, empowering your communities right where you are, why is that the future for America, and especially Black America?
Well, I think it's always been the future. I think the creation of wealth has been one of the things that, it's the incentive, it's the beauty of it all, and then when you have the wealth, you have other things, perhaps. Now, I have to say, I know some of the wealthiest people in the world. They're not the happiest people in the world. I can tell you, some of the wealthiest people in the world are the most unhappy people in the world. So it's not about wealth, but it's certainly an ingredient. It makes life a little bit easier, and it's the American dream. It is the American dream. We've had a tremendous success. We've had a tremendous success as an administration, helping not only the Black community, Armstrong, but also a lot of other communities, frankly, Hispanic community, every community. I mean, we have had unprecedented economics. Again, it's building at a level like nobody's ever seen. We just set last week, the record for employment, the most jobs in a certain period of time, over a 4-month period of time. I think it's 10.4 million jobs. So we're going to be right where we were, and then we're going to surpass it. And that's going to bring the country together, because I could see that before the virus came in, there was a unity that was starting to develop, and it was based on success. There was a unity that was starting to develop, Armstrong, that was amazing. Then we got hit by the virus, and we had to go back to work in a different way. And we saved millions of lives. We closed up, we saved millions of lives. And here we are sitting here today, and I think this is going to be actually very exciting. I look very much forward. I hope you're going to be in the audience.
I am. And one
you
last
can even
question.
be on the stage.
One last question before I let you go. You have built an incredible brand around the world with the Trump hotels, and people see that as hotels, but people visiting places around the world, that is housing, it is accommodations. And for particularly Black families, creating wealth starts with home ownership. Right. It's very important to talk about home ownership and why that's important. And people are having the opportunity to own their own homes, which creates that initial wealth for them.
Right.
Why is home ownership so important, Mr.
I think
President?
it gives you an identity. It gives you a feeling of security and safety. It gives you something that in many cases some people haven't had. You see it, it's a beautiful thing to see. People rent apartments or rent a home or rent something, and they don't really take care of it. It's not good. I've seen it. All of a sudden they own a home, and that home is so beautiful. Everything's so beautiful. It's got to be tippy-top. It's just a feeling of pride. And I'm very proud to say that, Black home ownership has reached the highest level ever in this country. And we're going to reach it. I think we're going to really surpass it very quickly, actually.
Mr. President, it's really been an honor to have this opportunity to sit down with you, and you're in our prayers, and we wish you well.
Well, you've been my friend for a long time. I've known you for a long time. You haven't changed, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Armstrong.